Oh yes, it is good to be back. But with that said, hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another one of our weekly Tensura Season 2 discussion videos. Finally back with the Tensura greatness. But before we get into the video proper, quick reminder if you haven't done so yet, to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, let all of AnyTube know that you're here. And with all of that said, words, bad at them, good start. Let's go ahead and talk about episode 13, The Visitors, shall we? So, immediate first thoughts. It is so good to be back. I took a break from Tensura, admittedly. The comment section of these videos is always fun. I don't know what it is with Tensura fans, but some people seem to have an issue with the way that I talked about the series. I feel like it's kind of clear that I really enjoy the series. I just have occasional hiccups with it, and people get mad at me for it. Okay, but I thoroughly enjoy the series. I think Tensura is probably one of my favorite isekais in general. I just think it's super fun, and I just needed a quick break after the sort of back and forth of the first half of season 2. So I didn't talk about Slime Diaries. I just kind of let Slime Diaries do its thing. I needed a break anyway. I never would want to get burnt out on a particular series, and I felt like maybe there was too much Tensura going on, a little too much slime. But if Slime Diaries is super cool, like maybe I'll check it out. Maybe like that. I feel like Slime Diaries would be like a good binge watch. You know, like when you're having like an off day. I could be wrong, but Slime Diaries fans, let me know what you think about that. I feel like that's definitely one that might be better suited for a binge watch. However, we're not here to talk about Slime Diaries, my friends. We're here to talk about Season 2, Part 2 of Tensura, which of course brings us the introduction of probably the character that I think a lot of people have been waiting for a long time. I know I certainly have. I've friggin' loved this dude since episode 1. We haven't really seen him a whole lot since then. We've had him mentioned a number of times, but we haven't seen him come back proper. And that's Veldora. Veldora is, he's just a man. Like, Veldora is... Well, he's not even the man. He's the dragon. He's the dragon man. Trogdor was a man. Okay, sorry. Veldora was a man, or he was a dragon man. Good for you. Any Trogdor fans? Anyway, so Veldora re-entering the series, I think, is fun. And he shows up at the best possible time. Because, like, and I'm not just talking about, like, in terms of, like, the narrative, although clearly he does. They're going to need all the help they can get if they're going to throw down with Clayman. But the reintroduction of Veldora felt very exciting because, like, I thought maybe it might be a thing that would wait all the way through, that we'd only see Veldora, like, occasionally, like, inside Rimuru's mind or something, just sort of guiding him through things. But we actually get to have him not only rejoin the squad, but actually appear with a more humanoid form and like actually interacting with the cast, and it's super cool. It's nice to have Veldora actually enter the show again proper. And it's funny when we find out what the man's been up to this whole time. It turns out that he spent most of his time reading manga and playing shogi. I don't necessarily think that like they explain that he spent his time reading manga, but it's mostly that he was just sort of inside of Rimuru's body, I guess, like his mind palace, so he had nothing to do, so he just read the manga that Rimuru has read, which is really funny to me. But yeah, he's just been sort of reading manga, playing shogi, and he's like an expert at shogi now, and which is likely to come in handy. Like maybe like he'll become like really good at battle strategy and stuff like that, although I'm sure he already was. But it's just sort of interesting to see what he's been up to the whole time. I think that was a really clever touch, and like it makes the power-up scene that he has, where he's clearly emulating like Dragon Ball or something, where he's like he's powering up, but he's actually trying to like tone his aura down. So it gave me a lot of Dragon Ball vibes. So maybe he spent some time reading through Dragon Ball. I wonder if he's a big Super fan, or I wonder if he'd rather watch Super or GT. I feel like that would really change how I view Veldora if he says GT, because Super is better. But yeah, it's cool. I think Veldora, like being a bit of a dork, like being a bit of like an excitable like manga guy, is like and shogi guy is kind of fun. Like and it also like further connects him to Rimuru. The fact that he's like he understands Rimuru on this deeper level than other people in the isekai world would, right? And honestly, their dynamic feels a lot more like a older brother like coming home from maybe like being away at college, and then he comes home and he like reunites with his younger brother, and the younger brother then introduces the older brother to his friends, who only know him through all these stories they've heard of him. So when they actually see him, they're shocked, right? Because like when Veldora shows up, none of them believe Rimuru that that's Veldora, right? Because he's Veldora, so he shows up and he's kind of loud and he's a bit of a goofball, and so nobody really believes him, right? That they're like, that's the dragon, like there's no way, like that's the storm dragon, no, right? But like as soon as Trainee shows up, they just like immediately are like, of course, like because they know that she would know who this is, so they all just sort of bow. And it's, to me, it really felt like an older brother just coming home from college, and that sort of like, this is my older brother, isn't he super cool? Like, and everyone's like, whoa, we've heard stories about you. Like, that's kind of the vibe that it gave me. And it was very wholesome. Honestly, the dynamic between Rimuru and Veldora is just generally very wholesome. Even the ED really hammers home the connection these two have, and it's super, super sweet. Just genuinely really charming. I don't know, there's just something about this dynamic I love. I just think they're like a really solid like brotherly bond. Like even like when he shows up and he's like, let's do it, right? And then they do the fist bump, like, you're my BFF, and he's like, BFF, that's so old, and they fist bump. It's so friggin' charming. Like there's just something about it that just puts a smile on my face. It's so friggin' sweet. And yeah, it's cool to see him interact with everybody. Like he does sort of like a Bilbo thing where like everybody starts to party and he's like telling stories of like his adventures and how he did this like rolling punch, which reminded me of like Noya from Haikyuu's Rolling Thunder. But that's sort of the vibe it gave me. It reminded me of Bilbo, right? Where Bilbo tells stories of, his past adventures where it's like poof and turn them all to stone, right? Like that's the vibe it gave me, where it's just Veldora like regaling the people of Tempest with his stories. I just think it's super fun, and I like that he's clearly excited to meet Rumour's squad and like to interact with everybody, and it's cool, right? Because they do treat him like the sort of Lord Veldora that he is. It's a cool moment. But as for the humanoid form, if we might do some design time, right? If we might take a look at my boy's design, immediate thoughts is that he has a super good design. Immediately you could tell like who he is just by looking at him. So he shows up and he is this he's wearing this like no shirt, but he has this like cloak on. He's got sort of like low pants that are baggy, so it's this form that's very clearly meant for fighting, right? Like meant for hand-to-hand combat. Like he's very much a brawler type, right? Like he went into the brawler type. He went into the monk class, like he's ready to whoop ass. And he looks like he could too. And the best part is the rest of his design gives you a storm impression, right? Like he's got the blonde hair, he's got yellow eyes, and he has these little zigzag patterns around the eyes that almost resemble thunderbolts, right? So when you see him, you just know that he is the storm that is approaching. But yeah, that's definitely Veldora. They should have talked to Capcom, and like as soon as he shows up, just have like Bury the Light play, just boom, I am the storm that is approaching. That's Veldora. Veldora is the storm that is approaching. It's just such a sick design. Like you can immediately tell what he is and who he is, what his personality is like, and maybe even what his powers are, just by looking at him. Like you understand that he's a big badass. You understand that he's to some degree a bit boastful, a bit of a crazy dude, just by his stance, his like proud sort of like arms across the chest, but he has a big smile, like very proud of himself, very confident in his abilities, bit of a brawler, and to some degree maybe some kind of electric-based abilities, right? Some sort of electric personality, both in terms of power and his personality, I should say. But yeah, the Veldora design is great. Everything about Veldora this week was great. It was nice to actually start with that. Coming back and seeing Veldora to start was the best possible way they could have. I think starting with a character who we've all been so excited to see return is just the smartest play. However, that's not all that happened this week. The episode is called The Visitors for a reason. We do get visited by quite a few people. Quite a few. Basically, Rimuru is having this whole meeting, and that part's really important. Like, they're going after Clayman, yada, yada, yada. Gabiru gets promoted. It's great. And then Fuse shows up. And I'll admit, like, when Fuse showed up, I was like, oh, yeah, forgot about Fuse. We're getting to a point where there's so many characters that it's kind of hard to keep track. All right, so I was like, oh, yeah, Fuse. Haven't seen this dude in a hot minute. So Fuse runs in, and he's mostly just kind of baffled by everything. Because when he shows up, he has that whole moment where it's like, how the hell? Because, like, in fairness, if I ran in, right, and I saw people laying all over the ground, I would also think they were dead and not just drunk, or recovering from being drunk, rather. So I would think the same thing. And then to hear, like, oh, by the way, I wiped out that entire, like, Falmouth is gone. Like, don't worry about Falmouth, they're dead. Like, that would be like, wait, what? Like, so I understand where Fuse is coming from, and I love that they're like, you're gonna want a trip to the hot tub, Fuse, trust me. Or the hot springs, Fuse. It's you gotta go to the hot springs. It's gonna make you feel all better about this. I know this is a lot to take in. You could tell the crew have had to listen to Rimuru say some surprising shit a number of times. That hot springs must be very, very occupied most times of the day, because you're gonna need it around here. A lot of crazy stuff happens. But it's not just Fuse. After that is Gazel, who we have not seen in a hot minute. And this dude is also looking dope as hell, dope as ever. But every time I see Gazel, I'm not gonna lie, I think of Gazif immediately from Overlord. I don't know if you guys watch Overlord, but I'm sure you do if you've seen Slime. But like Gazif and Gazel are like almost identical. Right? So my headcanon is that they're the same guy. They're just moonlighting in different series. Okay. But yeah, Gazel definitely gives me Gazif vibes. But Gazel's also like a lot more regal. You know, like he comes off like a proper king. When we see him like approaching, like when we see him on the Pegasus, I was half expecting Rimuru to be like, "Oh, Gazel, how's it going?" Right, like to like shout up to him. But then I remembered that we had that whole episode where Gazel was trying to say that Rimuru doesn't really act very kingly, and he needs to work on that. So I'm glad that Rimuru just sort of like walks out and just kind of like nods and is like ready to approach, right? Like he's being a lot more regal, which is what Gazel would want from him. So I do think that that's a really cool touch that they have Rimuru kind of keep it together when he sees his boy Gazel. Although I would still be like, Gazel! Like, I was excited to see him. I just think he's a cool character. But he's not the only one. It's not just Dwargon and, oh darn it, what's Fuse's kingdom called? Oh, well, I can't recall. But it's not just those two kingdoms having representatives show up for this meeting of sorts. We actually get one more in the form of, I can't remember this man's name. Alalud Grimwald, I believe. And he is initially ready to throw down with Rimuru, and that man's strong. Like when I saw like all the glyphs and everything surrounding him, I'm like, that's like a big holy, like when even like Raphael is just like, that's a lot of power. Like, you know that's a lot of power. So it's like, dang. Just all the glyphs and magic circles and everything that showed up when he was ready to throw down. It was a little intimidating. But thankfully Erin's there to knock some sense into her dad, because yeah, Grimwald is her dad, which was surprising. But yeah, he's there basically because he heard that, you know, Erin was taken by this demon lord, but really it was just that, you know, she was there to help Rimuru. But he too is there for the meeting. And that was a surprise. So we have 3 separate kingdoms. Well, I guess maybe like Fuse's places in a kingdom. Whatever, you know what I mean. So we have 3 separate kingdoms showing up and in this ready to assist Tempest, seemingly. Because I have to assume that that's what it is. That like these different forces are coming together to help Tempest fight Clayman. Like that's my guess as to what's happening. Unless maybe they just kind of all showed up at the same time for something else, which is possible. Again, I don't remember if Fuse's kingdom is even a kingdom or not. I don't remember Fuse's place. But I remember Fuse, not the kingdom. But I do think it's cool. Like I think it's cool that these different characters are all showing up to try to help out, seemingly help out rather, Tempest to take on Clayman. I don't know if that's going to be the case or if there's something else going on. But I do think that the idea of a full-scale war arc seems very cool, and I like that like Rimuru's getting ready to help out the animal kingdom as well, like to help them get back on their feet to save their king and all that. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good time. and I'm very excited to see where things go. And I hope you guys are excited to jump back into Tensura with me, because I definitely missed this show, and I like talking about slime. It's just a fun time every time. But with that said, everybody, that is going to wrap up today's video here. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to boop that up snoot, share if you care, leave a comment down below, and of course, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and set notifications to all. Let all of NannyTube? I'm going to leave that in. Let all of AnnieTube know that you're here. And before we go, as always, I want to give a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Look at all these beautiful names. And hey, if you'd like to join these beautiful people, there are 2 ways to do so. The first, for just a single $1, is by hitting that Patreon link in the description. Super helpful, helps me keep the lights on around here. Just a single $1, gets your name scrolling past the screen. Or for just a little bit more, you can check out that join button right beside the sub button, and that gets you additionally a badge next to your name and some emotes to spam in the comments. So if either of those sound cool to you, go ahead and check out that Patreon link or hit the join button right beside the sub button. Either way, super appreciated. Genuinely, sincerely. Thank you so much to the T Squadron. You guys are the true MVPs. And that is pretty much it for me. So I am going to go edit this video, and then I might watch Slime Diaries. I don't know. Maybe should I? I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, bye.